Welcome to the podcast.
歡迎收聽
요거서 팟캐스트에
به پادکست ما خوش آمد.
بروכים הבאים לפודקאסט
欢迎来到我们的播客
Benvenuti sul podcast
Willkommen beim Podcast.
일본가다 건니치와
Buongiorno dall'Italia
你好嚟自香港
Hello from New York.
Hallo aus Deutschland.
Shalom Israel
Hello, welcome to another episode of Crossing Cultures, the podcast where guests from all over the world talk about the subtle, surprising, intriguing, and bizarre cultural differences in everyday life. Nailed it. So today I'm super excited because number one, this is our 10th episode. Woo! So we're heading into the double digits. Number two, because this is the first part of a special episode. Today we're going to talk about dating. So I thought it would be nice to split this episode into the first part. We're only going to talk to the girls. And hopefully the next episode, we're going to talk to the guys. So it's not only going to be a cultural difference thing. We're also going to see battle of the sexes. I don't know. Not battle, but just like get two perspectives. And of course, because today, those of you with a keen eye will see that we have a very special cast. So first of all, it's veterans of the show. Okay, specifically we have Noah and Sarah, who've been our first guest on our first episode. Hanna, who's been on episode number 3. And Tanja, who's the first guest to already appear on 3 episodes. And on top of that, we have a local native for the first time. And so we have Roni. And so let's begin with, I'll have my guests introduce themselves. Hanna, we remember you from episode 3, right? And you're from?
I'm from Brazil, and I'm 28.
And let us know if we should be optimistic about what's happening in Brazil now.
You want to see a breakdown?
Okay, I'll stop it.
Yeah, it's not nice what's happening in Brazil. Here,
We're all counting on you guys, you know that. Oh, just no pressure, of course.
Yeah, let's talk about something nice.
All right,
Yeah.
sure. So, Roni,
I'm Roni, yeah.
and you're from?
Tel Aviv.
You're the first, maybe the only, who knows, Tel Aviv resident or native to be on the show. All right, and the rest of the guests, Sarah, Tanja, and Noah, you know them from previous episodes. And if you don't know them, you should watch those previous episodes, of course. So we'll start. Today's topic is dating and relationships. And I'll start by asking this. Raise your hands if you've ever dated someone from outside your culture. So all hands are up. That means this panel is a good choice. So can you share something that was, let's call it a cultural friction while dating someone from another culture? Could be anything. Could be a date, could be a text, could be, I don't know, meeting someone's parents for the first time. That was kind of weird.
Well, yeah, I think it's like from my culture, like being in the States, you go a lot slower than in other cultures, I think. So something I experienced, like moving to a new culture, is like you're meeting parents very quickly, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But where I come from, like you meet the parents like after years, and it's this big event, and you dress up, and you go to a nice restaurant, like it's very formal.
And you're talking about Israeli culture.
Israeli culture, it's like, come on,
like, yeah,
just go.
second date, meet the parents.
Second day, come for Shabbat dinner, like, meet my savta, this whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, of course, because if the mom doesn't approve, they're not going to waste time.
Right.
Should I be worried now that my boyfriend didn't invite me over to Shabbat dinner yet?
I don't
After
know.
1.5 months something?
No, 1.5 months, that's still
No,
okay.
1.5 months is still
That's fine.
Yeah,
It'll
when is the point where you start talking about someone you're dating that you're a couple? What is the cutoff point?
In our culture?
Yeah, you know what's like, at least as far as I know, in Israel we say it's seeing parents in daylight.
Really?
If you met someone's parents in daylight, you can call yourself a couple. If you met them like when it's after hours, it's dark, or it doesn't really count.
In the States, you're not a couple until you have the talk. It's called the talk. Like you'd say to your friend, like, did you have the talk yet?
Yeah, in Brazil, you're just a couple when you're like, so we are boyfriend and girlfriend now, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, yeah.
And there's like a ceremony around it. Do we exchange gifts, or it was just
no, just like, but if you don't like say the word, say it out loud, like us. So, and there's this old thing that I think young people don't do it anymore, but in Brazil it was common for the guy to ask, do you want to be my girlfriend? Like after a few dates, like it was a question, like a proposal.
Only after a few dates.
Maybe like when you were very young, maybe like at school, guys would say, "Oh, do you want to be my girlfriend?" And then you can hold hands and things. But I know a lot of people that were proposed like that. You know, the guy comes and like, "Oh, so you want to be my girlfriend now?"
That sounds very formal.
It is. I don't know if a lot of people still do it, because as I was talking to my boyfriend last night about this, I think more than cultural differences between countries, there is a lot of differences between social status, like how do people relate among themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only attest for like a small part of Brazil,
course.
like a very...
Of course. I mean, I have to say this, that none of you are expected to represent an entire culture. It's impossible. But it's like, it's just a taste. Any other stories?
In Austria, I think it takes forever, to be honest, to really get into a relationship. It's more the casual dating thing, and nobody says that you're together. And I mean, one of my friends, I mean, I hope she's not listening to that, but she dated her boyfriend for a year, and we're like, oh my god, of course you are together. And they're like, no, we are not. It's been a year, and they really spent a lot of time with each other, and they met each other's parents. But they still were not officially together. And I think this is really thing now in our generation, and it depends if you're like dating older guys, then it's, you know, different, because they're more into gentleman mode and they really want to make it official and show you as the girlfriends. But like around 30, I think it's a bit of a problem in Austria.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also familiar with that. Like that you have steps, like meeting the guy's friends. That's one step. You need to pass it, then you get...
So what are the other steps?
And there's the step of hanging, like, with no sex.
Oh.
Like, noonish.
Okay.
Or on Saturday. There's, like, regular sleepovers. But it takes time. I mean, you're casual dating. You're not exactly confessing your love. Or you're not exactly in love. But you just go through steps. I think it's between natural to killing me softly. Because it's hard to meet someone through a few dates. That date's not natural, but the steps, and then the parents, obviously. Parents is not just one date. I mean, you have to see them in multiple, like, occasions. And then one day.
And I mean, I think there's, like, there's certain steps that they're so small, but they mean something in the advancement of the relationship. For example, the first time if you put your toothbrush in your girlfriend's house, and now you have a toothbrush there.
I think the better one is tagging someone on Instagram. That's like
that's very advanced.
That's very
more
advanced.
terrifying to me than a
Never
Really?
been there. Never
Like,
tagged
apparently
someone. Oh my god.
That's very advanced. That's like sharing a toothbrush.
Now, for me, it's when the first time you make future plans together, like not even years in the future, but like a month from now, you know?
Yeah.
So let's buy tickets for that concert, then it's like a month or 2 months from now, and you're already like saying something. You're saying that you want to be together for
That's
at least
interesting.
that period of time.
1 week after I met my boyfriend, we actually decided to go to Austria together. So he booked the flight tickets to join me for the week later.
So how long?
So that was like
How long after you started dating?
4 days.
4 days.
He booked for the week after.
But that is atypical, I would.
That was
Israeli.
like, he's Israeli. Yeah, that's the change. Like the Austrian would never do that.
Well, you
It's
know,
not even a year into that.
I'm just gonna drop the bomb. You know, there's like the first time you fart, and nobody talks about it.
That's huge.
So yeah, if
No,
you're
that's
together,
married already.
that's only when you're married.
Oh man,
That
in
is
Okay.
trouble.
5 years in.
5 years in. All right.
What?
You guys, we never.
What? I would do it like 3 months in. Wow. Oh my god, I don't care at all.
No,
Like,
I mean,
burping in front of everyone.
it's when you fart or burp or we have some kind of bodily function, a noisy, smelly one, and then nobody says anything.
Yeah,
you just
let
keep
it go.
going. Yeah, you're like watching a movie and then one of you farts and then you just, as if you brush it off.
Right.
Because you can do it on the first date and then they'll be like, okay, awkwardness and, and maybe it'll pass, but there would still be awkwardness. But as soon as you can fart and then nobody cares. That's like, wow, that's a
something.
But it's a,
That's a
real
milestone.
relationship,
But
then,
burping and farting are so different. Like I would burp on the first date, honestly. Would you
It's
not?
so American.
We're like disgusting.
yeah.
It's like
That was a detour. All right, let's talk about dating apps. Does that exist? Does that exist? I mean, okay, I know in Israel it exists, in the US probably exists, in Austria it probably exists. In China, do you have dating apps?
So we do. We used to have a lot of. So first, let me be a little bit step back
Okay, sure.
to the first topic because I think we are actually on another side of the spectrum in terms of dating. A lot of time it's kind of like the opposite of what in Austria is like. That people get together and saying, "No, we're just being together for the sake of getting married." So it's kind of like, okay, we have a set time. In a year, we're going to get married. So this year, the dating is going to be the preparation for that. So that's why, even though we do have some apps that you can meet new people, that you can hang out, but that's considered a little bit like Tinder-ish, like more for hookup. I remember like early years of internet, we started to have those websites, sort of like Alpha in Israel. You never heard of that? That
Yeah,
one
no.
is for like senior people dating.
For
So you put in a
academic.
profile, you see how much money you make, how many like apartment you own, if you have a car, if you have like a first degree, second degree. So
Sounds like
it's
something
kind
the
of
IRS would set up.
yeah, it's a matchmaking thing. So it's
Kind
kind
of
of
like a job interview.
pretty much, even though it's
What are your qualifications?
pretty much. So you choose others based on those like criteria. So it's a bit harsh. It's either this way or that way, I would say.
And do you consider, not you specifically, but do you consider all these characteristics when considering someone as a date? You ask, okay, how much money does he make? How many apartments does he own?
So
you have to
if-
be more polite about that than that.
Not if it's
Yeah.
ready.
How much money do you make?
No,
I
it
mean-
depends on
Yes,
how
yeah.
desperate you are. If you are already like in China, let's say for girls, if you're already above 30, then like the clock is kind of ticking for them. Then you kind of need to force yourself into those serious dates, which is more like setup. So you go do those setup on the first time. Sometimes you even bring your parents or the matchmaker, and you start to exchange the questions. So what kind of job you do, how stable that is, how much money you make, how much bonus you get. So it's not a romantic at all. So, but you still consider it as a date because otherwise, what would you call it?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to advance it into a romantic relationship, then you call it.
But this is like This is like your generation, our generation does this.
I would say like I'm in my late 20s. It's still quite common, especially for the people who are really feeling they're getting like into a rush of getting married, which I guess is also another thing in other cultures. But that age is probably something above 30, not under.
So you would go to a matchmaker and you would say, okay, I'm looking for a man with these specifications.
No,
Right?
the matchmaker is usually like someone, a senior lady in your office or like your auntie. You say, oh, I know a lot of good boys. Like, tell me what you're looking for, and I can set you up. So that kind of.
Okay, so it's not like official. It's not a service that you.
You would, but that's kind of awkward. You
Yeah.
should know some boys through other.
I see.
aunties.
Yeah, that's where I was going for.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to know if, because I think, Roni, correct me if I'm wrong, that in Israel, if you go to a matchmaker, unless you're one of the ultra orthodox, where that's the only way they meet their partners. If you're one of if you live in Tel Aviv, if you go to a matchmaker, that's very, very weird. It's very awkward, and you would probably try to hide it and not tell your friend. I don't know, but I've never heard of anyone who went to a matchmaker.
No,
Now
I know
there's
a lot of
service.
people.
It was like what Meet Something at Sinai, that website. Have you heard
I've
of that?
heard of it, something like
Yeah,
this.
it is a matchmaking service on
If
the
they're
internet.
trying to make it more, like in the Israeli and the American community, more mainstream, more cool. Like there's the cool matchmaker. It all started with this show in America called The Millionaire Matchmaker, and it's this really famous show. And she's a matchmaker, and she sets up people that are young, which mostly millionaires. But it made like the matchmaker business sort of mainstream, and it's becoming. I have a friend; she's a matchmaker, and she sets up people all the time, and they're young. Like
Yeah, I know a lot of people like young that went to a matchmaker and got married, and a lot of Brazilians get married to Americans through matchmaking, and I think it's good also. It makes you happy.
I mean, it means actually that both sides are really serious about it, right? And I mean, in our generation, it lacks a bit.
All right. So, but I mean, okay. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. So, we even within the dating apps, all right. I think there's kind of a hierarchy. In at least I think in Israel, there's some apps are like a little bit more serious, and then some apps are kind of more casual, and then some apps are like, okay, this is like you're dead serious. I don't know, like you only want someone that you can actually get married to within a year or something like that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think, there's like OK Cupid, and that is like everyone is there because like everyone fled from Tinder because they want like to get laid and still like look for their girlfriend. So they're like, no, I'm serious occasionally. Because I did an experiment. I was on several dating apps like Bumblebee, OkCupid, and Tinder, and I tried to see like and all of the guys aren't on the same.
Everyone's
page.
on everything.
There's also this app that was popular for like a month, Happen.
That's
You
so
walk
popular
through
in
them.
Brazil.
Really?
It's so popular, yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
met someone through there, but he was like 43 years old, divorced, really depressed, really hot.
Sounds fun.
But
Wait.
yeah, no, anyways.
So okay, so I mean, I think. But wait, there's a little bit contradictory because you said everyone's on everything, but then there are different kind of expectations. Yeah, I
They
guess.
have their stereotypes, the apps.
I won't want. I saw my brother once on a dating app, so it was like freakish. So you don't want your brother to see you on Tinder. That's bad.
Okay.
OkCupid is fine. You're looking for love. Alpha, which you mentioned before, is like for academics, people, like academy people. It's like no, you don't go there.
It's
Why
not
not?
sexy
If-
at all.
If I was still in the game,
It's like really bad.
there was one dating app that it never took off, unfortunately. But I heard about it and I said, okay, if I was in the game, I would totally use that one exclusively to find love. It was an app called Sizzle, and it's Tinder for people who love bacon.
I guess in Israel it is really good.
I think the worst
Yeah.
app for us is J-Swipe because that's kind of defining your target group to be a Jewish girl or Jewish guy.
J Swipe.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
there's
don't know it?
J-Date and
Oh,
stuff.
J-Date.
J-Swipe, whatever.
No, there
Okay.
is
Sorry.
one.
But I
think
guess it
there-
narrows it down if that's all you want.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
I kind of feel like we're not the target group of people who are looking for. Let's say, sorry, I just want to be generic here.
Sure.
A lot of time I find the most difficult people to date in Israel is the Olim Chadashim. I'd say a lot of the guys, even they're hot, they're cool, but they're coming to Israel for Zionism. And then it's very unlikely they're going to go out with someone that's, like exotic
Uh-huh.
and not Jewish. So that is actually something like challenges, I think.
And
that
is
Israel.
there something like that for like China?
It's not even a thing because we have such a little like foreign population. So you assume that of course you're going to date another Chinese.
Uh-huh.
If you are going to date another white guy, then people would just look at you like, oh, you just like gamed up a little bit. You're going
You
to-
gamed up?
No, gamed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it considered like
it's not a very nice thing to say, I would say. Some people have this kind of stereotypes that you want
Uh-huh.
to marry up or marry to a different class, so you do that. So I would say
Interesting.
at least Israel, it's not as bad, but still, like I would say, even though it's an international country, but the majority of the population is still Jewish.
Yes. All right, let's go for something fun. Pickup lines. Do you find them lame or suave? Suave.
I think they are kind of like outdated now. I don't know people who actually like. I think last time I heard a pickup line was 2005 or something.
Oh, that's
No one's- yeah, I
that's
haven't had a pickup.
long ago.
I haven't had to pick up a line. Like if people try to pick you up.
Well, anything could
But
be
it's
considered
like,
a pickup
right,
line.
Hi.
Yeah, not
Hi,
Hi, how
yeah,
are you?
hi is like so high is like one, I guess, probably the most basic, but
But hi is already better than hi beautiful.
is it?
It's I feel
Yeah, I don't need anyone to
Yeah.
say beautiful. It's not.
At the first opening line, like hi beautiful already, like you saw from one profile pic that you already know that I'm beautiful. That's,
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're assuming online.
Yeah, online, yes.
Oh,
yes.
online.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that was interesting.
That's a good
I
idea.
was thinking like face to face.
Okay,
in
but
bars.
so what is the difference between like, starting a conversation with a pickup line, whatever broad term that means? Okay, pickup line, online or face to face? Because I think there's something you can get away with online, but not face to face, and the other way around. Also, there's some things you can get away with online, but never face. Oh, I think I said the same thing twice, but you get the idea.
I just need to point out there's like no pickup lines in Austria because chances that a guy is actually talking to you, even if you're alone in a bar, is like 0.
Really?
So,
Right.
I don't know, because it's Austrian, so they don't want that. It's hard.
Like
It's
you want to
really
be
hard.
left alone?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, you need to be really drunk and almost lying on the floor that someone is actually talking to you.
Do you
I,
need help?
I didn't try that, but like it's really
So how?
online it works, of course.
So online it works. I used to say that hitting on girls on Facebook is exactly the same as hitting on girls in a bar, except they're sitting in the bar and you're outside because they won't let you in. So, I don't know. It seems like it's such a stretch. So how do people connect? Like how do people get to know each other in Austria?
Work,
Through work.
yeah, or Tinder.
I see. Okay, interesting.
Like
So
the
people don't hit on each other on the
No.
street.
Oh, I got twice. Someone did a pickup line on me, but they were pickup artists. Like serious. Like,
That's their job.
yeah, that's their job.
Okay.
I just
That's
found out after.
I guess that doesn't count.
Wow,
No, that doesn't count.
But it was
That's-
twice, and I was like, oh my god, someone is talking to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure.
That's super
But I
weird.
think a lot of guys have pickup lines online now through apps because they want an answer. Because most girls only match and then never reply. The guys say hi and we don't say anything. I know I never reply to anyone. I'm sorry if somebody matched with me. I
So
never-
give me an example for like a really lame pickup line, and then a good pickup line.
Oh my god, I'm not going to remember now. Like, I remember once I got a good one. I don't remember what he said, but it was something funny and engaging and made me want to reply. But there is kind of like... I heard of one last night when I was like going through Facebook, and I know that in Brazil some guys... they put on their Tinder descriptions like, there is one mistake in my profile. If you find it, you have to tell me. Or like, if you find it, you earn points or whatever.
It's kind of funny.
But there is nothing like, and the thing is the person keeps looking and then matches and then starts a conversation. That's the whole point of it. Starting a conversation, but it's very lame because then people started copying and like there's a million profiles.
Yeah, you always have to be ahead of the game. If you're innovative and creative, then you'll be copied immediately. I guess.
Exactly. And sometimes people just start with a question, like a funny or different question, like just to incite you to start something. Otherwise, it's just one in a million matches that you're not going to reply to.
All right, Roni, best and worst.
Oh, I have some. So I think there's the people that try to pick you up on the street. They mostly use the phrase, "Does those daddy have a dad?" Does those doggies have a dog? Have a dad?
Your dog.
Oh god.
A lot of people ask me if my dog has a dad,
Okay.
and they're like, "Does that
Ah,
mean
okay.
a dad?
I
Are
see.
you walking him alone?"
Is there a Mr. in the
Is there a
picture?
Mr. in the picture? Yeah. And online, most of the time, it's just like, "I like you," or "Do we know each other from?"
And do you prefer the direct approach or the kind of around the back?
I mean, I would be. I would like someone to approach me in an elegant way and not ask me if like my dog needs to like a dad, a father figure. No one ever approached me and said, "Hi, you seem interesting. Would you mind sharing your phone number? Can we talk?" No. It's like just going. I didn't see you on the street. Is like.
And do you find that this is more prevalent in Israel or in like other places?
Well, in Israel, I know how to recognize if that guy is like a weirdo or legit.
Mm-hmm.
In other countries, like in Italy, where I've been around, they're just like staring or saying, like looking at you and like, "Oh, you want something?" And I'm like, "No." I mean, I don't know if they're weirdos or like nice guys that don't know, that have the language barrier.
All right, Sarah, best and worst.
I think someone on Tinder once said, "Did you fart because you blew me away?"
Oh my god. But they spoke to you. No?
Which I kind of thought was sort of funny.
Is that a best or the worst?
Maybe, probably best. Yeah, probably best.
Best.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
one of the
And the worst?
The worst. specific pickup line. I think though just the ones that are generic. Like I was on Bumble for a while, and they even help you with, because Bumble's the one where girls speak first only. So they even like help you with pickup lines. Bumble, like they give you like examples of like things to say. It's like don't do this, don't do this. But so that was fine because I did the pickup lines. But when I was on Tinder, I think the worst ones are the generic ones. Hi, beautiful, because it's like just
All right.
You just copy
make that
paste it.
effort.
out.
Copy paste to like 10 people. Okay, I ignore
Yeah.
these people. Yeah.
I would say the worst pickup line in real life, that's more probably specific to me, is just a stranger on the street look at me and say, Sawadika.
Which is Thai.
Thai, yeah.
So this is kind of racist and horrible at the same time.
Oh, here?
What?
Yeah.
Or somewhere,
In
like
Israel,
where?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
In Israel, that doesn't happen in the States because in the States there are different races, so people are used to that.
Oh,
And here, Asian walking on the street, people just throw all different languages. A lot of them, they did use ni hao, but I usually ignore all of those because I feel like people just want to test out the Chinese skill they learn on their trip. It's not really they're interested in you, it's just like, oh, a stranger from a stranger culture. Like, that's kind of the thing.
In Brazil, every Japanese, every Asian is Japanese, so it's all Japa.
Yeah.
And they will call you Japa, which is like short for Japanese. It doesn't matter if you tell them I'm Chinese, you're still Japa. That's the Brazilian racism.
Yeah, it's like people here ask me like, "Oh, you're from Philippines?" Oh, yeah, I know that's more common for people to perceive you as a Filipino here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I share one pickup line that I remember that it happened like 15 years ago and I still remember it?
15 years ago? Wow, that's
Yeah, I was
you were
like
super
a
young.
teenager and I was like going to a party or something and a guy came up to me and I was like, "Can I ask you 3 questions?" Like, "Yeah, sure. What's your name? You wanna kiss me? And why not?"
Oh.
At least funny.
Yeah, I laughed and I was like, "Haha, bye." And I just left. But it was different and I remember it.
Yeah,
It did not
I think
work.
it's all about delivery.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about what you say. It's all about, like, you can say the lamest thing, but in a charming and kind of innovative, nuanced way, and that would be better than being super creative and coming up with something very elaborate and social, like so-called engaging, but then delivering it really badly.
Which
Yeah.
is simply how attractive you look.
Yeah,
Well, that's the problem.
that's always true. Yeah. All right, let's talk about what are some popular dating locations in Brazil, in China, in the US. I think in Israel it would be either bar or coffee, probably 90% of the dates, or am I wrong?
Yeah, or the
Yeah.
beach.
Yeah.
Or the beach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like a beach.
The
date.
beach?
No.
Like during the day or?
First
No.
date?
No, you
I
mean,
mean, I'm 33, you know. I've been through all the coffee shops and bars. Now I go outdoors. I
When
would-
people ask you on a date to the beach, you go, like, you hang out at the beach, like, during the day. You take
yeah,
a...
no, we can. I live near the beach, so we can take a bottle of wine and just sit by the breeze, something like that.
yeah.
And I know there's not going to be any like coochie moochie because it's like sandy
It's in a
and
public
also
place.
safe.
I'm
And a
just
bar
curious.
bar is fun.
Can you go to a dog park? If
Yeah.
another one is also dog owner.
Yeah, but I heard in the dog park because I met a lot of guys there. But that you bring to the dog park the not so good dates. I heard it recently for a girl
Wow,
from a girl.
Because you don't have to commit to anything. No drinks, no time. Gotta go.
I mean, it is
No
the
pain.
natural way. It's nice because you do something that's natural for both of you. But somehow, when you need to date someone, all things natural just disappears. Like you become this thing.
I would think that it's really hard. Like when I take my dog to the dog park, I need a lot of attention at the dog because she doesn't, I don't know, eat something that she's not supposed to or roll around in the mud or whatever. So I don't see how you can like spend enough attention at like getting to know someone else. But I think, Sarah, in the US, it's pretty common to ask someone out on a date and go to like a fancy restaurant. Or and I don't think that happens in Israel.
No, here it's also the timing is different. So someone will ask you out a week before in America, and it will be a nice place. Oh, what there's a lot of questions prior. The guy will say, like, where do you live? What kind of food do you like? What's your dietary restrictions? Like, he's really, wants to make you happy, but it sort of can be also annoying. There's more pressure on you. But yeah, you can go to like you'll go to dinner and it will be nice. Yeah.
All right. And what is a popular dating location in Austria?
Like actually, I think we are really boring and go to bars for the first date, because then you don't need to spend so much time if you're not into each other.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's a generation thing, and when you date older guys, they are more gentleman-wise, and they are really bring you to fancy restaurants.
Uh-huh.
They take you with the car there. They pick you up first, and they bring you home, like all this like nice things, which the younger generation doesn't do.
So let's go with texting versus calling. What is
Nobody calls. Who calls? If somebody calls you, it's like he's a psychopath. Don't answer. Why are you calling?
People
me?
call me like when I was on the dating apps. People would call me. I actually really
But
liked
only
it.
here, not in the U.S., right?
No,
only
no,
here,
no one ever called me in the U.S.
Exactly.
No.
Israelis call.
Yeah, they do.
Nobody else in the whole world calls. Only Israelis.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? It's interesting. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Like in Brazil, I think things have been more and more and more casual. So we were talking about places, like locations for dates. Nobody takes you to a fancy restaurant unless you are already boyfriend and girlfriend and it's like your anniversary or they want to do something nice for you. On a first date, you would never go to a fancy restaurant. It's like a coffee date if you are more serious about the person, or a bar if you know there's sex later. It's basically this. And like calls just seem so formal now.
Formal.
Yeah, now it's like people feel like they don't have the time for it anymore, and it's too personal. And so texting, you can reply whenever you have time, at your own pace. You can think of what to say. So when somebody calls you, it's very like surprising. Why are they calling me? What do they want? So it's, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But here it's normal. Here, every guy that people told me, don't give your number because they will call, and it's true. If you give your number to a guy that asks, like they will call like 3 times before they give up, and it's.
I think that when you call someone, it's a big move. You're now blocking their time. So okay, you can't watch TV now. You can't do anything. You're gonna talk to me if you answer.
Because
So
you can't ghost the other person while you're on the call.
yeah.
When you're texting,
real
like, I don't know how to respond to that message. It's just like, let's just leave it there. But I do have a very good friend here that she's actually American and she's looking for serious like relationships, and she have tried all the apps. And what she does is she does calls to screen before she go on a first date. Screen out those weirdos so that the success rate will be higher. So she said like it's actually because we work in sales. So it's kind of sales calls. The first one, you just, testing the water. The second one, then you really go into the sales detail.
I think that's why I like it. Because guys from the apps would call me and I just hated their voice. So I realized I could never go out with them. Like, it's better than wasting your time going out. Okay, I wasted 20 minutes on a phone call.
Do you girls text after a good date? If you had a really nice time, do you text the guy or do you wait for them to text you, telling you, or nobody
Depends
texts?
on the connection you had. Like I don't like playing games because I'm very anxious. So if I put myself in a position to wait for the other person to move, this makes me very anxious and I can't. So if I want to talk to them, I just text.
Yeah.
But is it common, like if you had a good time, you would text and say, okay, hey, I had a really good time, let's meet again? Or is it like too abrupt? Let's let the date be over and maybe...
In the States, I think there's rules. I really do.
Which
I
are?
haven't been there in a long time.
It's like 3 days?
But
Or?
it's, you like wait, like you kind of like, yeah, it's like they'll get your number and then they wait 3 days and then they ask you to go out like 3 days later and then you'll get a text 3 days after that. So it just takes a really long time for anything to progress because it's like this, like you have to like hold back your emotions, which is the opposite of here where everyone's like really hot and like it's very quick. So it's much more stressful there, I think.
So which means that actually in States, you are more likely to date multiple people at the same time.
Yeah. It's like weird that you wouldn't. Like here, I did that in the beginning, like dated multiple people and people were looking at me like, you're cheating on me. And I was like, excuse me? Like I've known you for 2 months? What? It's so weird. But in the States, yeah, you date. It's very common for months, maybe even like 8 months or something to date multiple people.
You might want to ask the guys next episode, like when they find out the girls are
I
dating,
will.
also
I
dating
will.
other-
They will have the advantage of watching this episode.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but how is it in China? Are there like these rules you don't text before or after?
No, I don't think there's this kind of set rules, and also there we don't have like date number X you do what. But I would say that guys are, I think in most culture are supposed to be a little bit more doing the first steps and being a little bit more straightforward, and girls like, oh, we're just passively waiting. Even though I feel like with the time they're starting to have this change, like you can do whatever you want. You don't really need to be waiting for that moment to come.
And does it really happen? Do women pick up guys in your culture?
Oh, I don't think so. Wow, I don't think that was a very common thing. Maybe in the rom-com, yes. In the reality, I've never seen that. Like the best girls were the one or the most good at was it. I think they just like set up the vibe in the way that they let the guy tell them that they're interested. But you don't say it.
You don't just come up and say, "Hey, I like you. You're nice."
Hey,
Is
you're
it?
hot. No, like doesn't
No.
work there.
The average Brazilian would like run to the hills. If you came up to him, like, but the average guy, like, they are the more open-minded people. But if you go to a bar in Brazil and as a woman you come up to a guy, or he will think that you are a slut, like, and he will like label you and use you for sex and nothing more, or he will literally run, be like, what the fuck is wrong with this? Can I curse?
Really? That's surprising. I had no idea that Brazil was like that.
No, Brazil is very sexist, like deeply sexist. So it's hard, but like in my social circle, it's more common. Like people are more open-minded, and it's normal.
And in Israel, I would think it happens or no?
I think that it's just a code. Or like there's a window of like 24 to
Yeah, you would have to be like
hours that
really.
you need to wait for him to say if he likes you. It just means that you will maybe see him again. But if you ever text first after a date, then you're like needy. Then you're like,
Oh, no.
But like, do women ever hit on men? As far as you know.
my brother doesn't allow me to do that. Because he says like no woman should do that. Because I'm like, I want to believe that I'm independent and strong and like do whatever I want. It never led me to a serious relationship. I mean,
But isn't it? I mean, if you're independent and strong and you know what I want, then if there's someone you want, you just go ahead and do it.
But then he's like, they're all pumped up and they think it's a hookup. I mean, I
No, but those kind of rules are kind of, I wouldn't say stupid. I just
They
feel
are.
like you are restricted. I even went on a date, which was not bad. I had a very good time. And while the guy was in the bathroom, I paid for the bill.
Oh wow.
Oh, he must have been.
And the guy came out shocked.
And
As
where
much
was
as
he
you could
from?
imagine. Israel.
Israel.
Yeah. It's not like
He was shocked.
You
It
just
was shocked. It was.
world.
Yeah,
Is it-
he couldn't process
Yeah.
what was going on.
Okay, wait. Let's address this subject. So, who pays for the date in China usually?
It was a smooth transition.
Yeah.
It should be guys. Always be guys.
Always
Like,
guys. And if you were on a date with a Chinese guy and he
Yeah.
said let's split the bill, you would be.
you humiliated because
Oh.
guys should be the bread maker, so you should be start to provide even when you're in a relationship to show that I am committed.
When does it stop? Like, or it never stops. It's like
It shouldn't stop somewhere. Even after people get married, which is kind of sounds fucked up. Like guys are supposed to give like the credit card to girl, so they don't have. Yeah, they get the allowance from the girls.
all right.
You have the pocket money and that's it. So you don't use the money to mess around.
Okay. And in Austria,
Guys pay for sure. I mean, they complain that they need to pay.
Uh-huh.
They should pay,
But
but,
it's-
they
they
actually
always
do.
say.
And whenever a guy is not paying for me, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I can pay, of course. But are we friends or what? Or is this
Uh-huh.
a date?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of expecting it.
so that is the difference between being on a date
Yeah.
with
Being
romantic interest and being just
Yeah.
on a, okay.
Because if he's interested, he should show me it. Exactly. Also,
Yeah.
texting me after he left me, like in the
Mhm.
evening. I want to hear and see it.
I
and I think
see.
this is very common in Austria that it's done if the guy is serious.
Okay. What about the U.S.?
I think it depends where you are. Like I'm from New York. It's very liberal, and
Really?
I haven't been there in 4 years. It's really
Okay.
I dated so much more here, but I think I think it's becoming much more like, you could split it.
You can split. Okay, if anyone's from New York, I want to know if it's what's the current situation.
Yeah, maybe I could be wrong.
All right, Roni?
Again, with the code thing, if he's willing to pay or asking to pay, it means that he likes your company, and I mean, it depends how he does it. It's nuances.
But what would you think of a man who splits the bills? Or said, hey, let's split the bill.
If the communication would be better, and he would tell me, let's split the bill, I like you, I want to see you again, I would be okay. But they don't say anything. Like, am I supposed to understand? So if you split the bill, I know you're not interested, and then I also pay, and I also go home like with a bad feeling. So I wish we could erase this thing and like people would pay for themselves. But you know, a guy paying is like he's like doing the first step of starting something together.
The ritual, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
like if you pay, you may become out as like a sugar mama or like a feminist, and those are like bad words.
So
Israeli
what
shopping.
are you hanging out with?
what other
That's a good word.
what other kind
it
of
is.
dating etiquettes should you be aware of? Let's say if you're dating someone from Brazil, what should you do? Let's say I want to really impress a Brazilian
but
girl.
I'm the worst person to ask about this because I am very feminist and I am very liberal. So I think average Brazilian, it's very sexist, so the guy pays. Most Brazilian women would be offended if a guy asked them on a date and didn't pay. And I think there's also kind of like a social courtesy in like if you ask somebody on a date, maybe you're offering something, as you know, you ask on a date and maybe you pay. It's nice to
And
do
do you
that.
like
But-
open the door, hold the door? Does that still happen in Brazil? To hold the door for someone to?
Brazilians are very, at least in São Paulo where I'm from, people are very polite. So they will hold the door for anyone. If you are like going out of the, you're going out of the building and there's a person like 10 steps behind you, you wait with the door
So
open.
the opposite of
to the-
Israel.
It's the opposite of Israel, exactly. People do that for each other all the time, and there's a lot of guys that like to open the car door for you and those things. And I think sometimes it's a nice gesture, like that's it. It's part of the ritual, but sometimes it bothers me because, like, I'm not an object or a prize, and sometimes like the thing about men paying, it comes from men earning money and women don't. So, and now it's not the case. So most of the dates that I've been in recently, I split the bill.
Ronnie, do you concur that Israeli men are not chivalrous? That they don't hold the door and not.
I mean, I met some nice, elegant guys, chivalrous, and I like it when it comes natural to them because they're like polite and have good manners. But if it's just a game, it's weird. And most of the guys are like, "You coming? Close the door. The air condition is on." Like, yeah.
Okay, what about you guys?
I think there's still the chivalry thing. Like, it's just much more formal in the States than here. So there is a lot of, like, expecting the guy to open the door for you. And, like, there's, like, the etiquette of the guy stands closest to the street. Do you know
Oh yeah,
about that?
in Brazil they do this also. If
Yeah.
you're walking hand in hand, the man walks on the side of the street and the woman.
Yeah, to, like,
Yeah.
protect her from bears or cars. I don't get it. Like, it's so outdated. I just, when people do things like that, I'm so just confused.
All right, so let's do this. If there's a guy listening to us and he's really into someone from your country and he really wants to show that he cares and he's aware of the cultural
Are you
differences.
saying that when this hookup or hitting on is happening in Israel or in general?
In general, let's say in general.
If you want to impress a Brazilian girl for all the Israelis that will be watching this, we don't speak Spanish. We speak Portuguese. It's a different language. Don't try to impress us with the Spanish that you picked up when you went to South America after the army. Like, okay, it's similar. It's not the same language.
Of course.
And Brazil is more than big bums and football and carnival. If you know something else about the country, it's always nice. And apart from that, it's like really typical sexist dating culture where the girls will expect the guy to like text first, take the first step, take them out, pay for dinner.
All right.
And I don't know, that's pretty much basic.
Roni, how do you impress an Israeli girl?
Wow. Well, I like people to be honest, direct. I'm not afraid of being complimented. Like, yes, I'm beautiful, thank you. I'm kidding. Like, be direct, be honest, be communicative, be original. I mean, don't be afraid to be who you are. And, like, no fake gesture. Just,
You know what? I'll tell you a little story. I have a friend from Japan who came to visit me, and he wanted to go to a bar and meet girls. And he asked me, okay, so give me like the rule of thumb how to talk to Israeli girls. And then I really had to think about it. And then I said, because I remember once when I was in the US, I talked to a girl for like 40 minutes in a bar. We were like talking and I was like completely convinced that she's super into me because we're talking for 40 minutes. And as soon as I looked away, she took off. And like, immediately, and I thought, okay, I must have been creeping her, the hell out of her for these 40 minutes, and she just smiled and nodded and pretended to be interested. And so I told my friend from Japan, I said, the one thing you need to know, and Roni, if you disagree with me, I want to know. The one thing you can tell about Israeli girls is that if you talk to them, and they don't like tell you to fuck off within like 1 minute, then you're at least you know that you're in the clear. They're not gonna fake it for like a 1 whole minute of not interesting conversation.
Exactly.
So you think if you can make it through 1 minute of conversation and you haven't been told to get lost, then you're at least okay.
Then you get like a whole 9 minutes more.
Okay. And in the US?
I don't know. I think American guys can be like self-involved. So if you want to impress someone, I think just like listen. Don't be an asshole. Like it's not hard, I swear.
No,
just like be nice,
sure.
like be kind.
Okay.
I think it's like super superficial with us, and because I think status is what counts. So if you're like having a good job and if you can represent yourself and actually see that you could provide technically, that's something that really helps with the girls. And then also keeping up a good conversation, be interesting in general, travel maybe, and if you're from abroad, I think you're way more interesting anyways to the girls. I'm in Austria because we
really
have to, there's like the one part that really wants to have local people because of language barriers and stuff, and then they're the ones that are more open, and they really we like if they're guys that are a bit different than the usual Austrians. So you can
there's always those two forces all right. And how do I impress a Chinese girl?
So I think regular Chinese guy, they might be a little bit boring. They might not know how to impress a girl, not that romantic. So I think actually for Western guys, like say especially Italian, I think they're just born to be actually they know how to impress a girl with those catch-up or pick-up lines, and also maybe have a hobby to you, so you have something to talk about, not only about like how much you're making and about the job. And then also in this room specifically, I agree with her completely. Talk more about the person you're looking at instead of like, oh, Chinese kung fu, Jackie Chan, all those like culture things both you're throwing under, and which views that actually that's irrelevant to the situation.
Just grasping whatever you can find to start a conversation. All right, so there's so much to talk about, and we really don't have enough time. So now we're going to move into another segment. You know the game Sababa Ve'akol? Have you ever heard of that game?
No.
Okay, so in Israel we have a game called Sababa Ve'akol, which means Sababa is like cool, and Akol means like and everything. And the game is you say, imagine that you're out with someone and everything is cool and he's cool and everything, but, and then you have something that you add, and then you have to decide if that's a deal breaker or not. All right, so this is our version for Sababa Ve'akol, or hits
so
the
like
spot.
A deal or not deal? No deal.
Imagine you're on a date with someone, first date, second date, and she shows up with flip-flops. Is that hits the spot or hits the curb? Hit the curb.
Hits the curb in Austria.
It's a Kurban. Okay.
But in Israel, that's every Israeli man.
No, of course. Not in, in Israel,
Yeah.
everyone is with
I don't know.
flip-flops.
In Sao Paulo, it would be like no deal. But my boyfriend showed up to our first date in like flip flops and a bow tie, and now we live together. So it's
Okay. Sarah?
In the States, probably wouldn't be good. No.
Wouldn't be good. And
I think it's kind of weird because flip-flop is actually not that popular in China. So like if someone dresses up like that, it might be a reason.
all right. Next question. First date, go and watch a horror film.
yes.
Yes? All right. One for Brazil, yes? Two.
Brazil.
Well, for Hanna, yeah, for Hanna. Yes, for Hanna?
But not for all girls, but
No. Okay, for you, yeah, only you.
it's cool.
I personally would not like it.
No.
I wouldn't want to watch a movie in the first place.
Yeah.
Like at his home, no way. On Netflix, something, no. And in the cinema, then you cannot talk. So
Mhm.
what's the point in actually doing that on the first?
Okay, so it's no for any movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
First day, you already like watch Netflix together.
Yeah, no way. That's what I'm saying. It's like-
And you, what would you say?
I don't think it's kind of a weird question unless the girl really expressed that she has something with horror movies.
No, you. Just answer for yourself.
Like no, because there's no way I could mention this. If
Oh,
the guy
okay.
decides for me, then that's a no.
Fair enough. All right, you're starting a relationship. It's like the first few weeks, and then the guy suggests a weekend in Paris.
Few weeks.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It depends. I don't know. I might freak
Who
out.
pays?
Okay.
No,
be
I
honest,
don't
I
need him
don't
to
really
pay
do it.
for me, but I want to go to Paris. Why not? I like Paris.
Okay. Cologne or aftershave, is it better to put in too much or not enough?
Not
Not
enough.
enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Like,
That is better than too
much
much.
better. Too
Wow.
much is horrible.
We have agreement here.
Yeah.
You agree? Okay,
No.
so
I like sloppy guys.
okay.
You like sloppy guys.
No, they all said that not enough is better than.
No, but I like the guys who don't know.
Ah, okay, got it.
I like
Okay.
cologne.
Yeah.
And
All
I
right.
like
First few dates, dirty jokes.
putting an effort.
No.
No.
It's
Yes.
yes, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
What she said, jokes are the best. And
Oh, what
I know
she
that,
said?
Yeah.
Okay, first date, the guy offers you to join his friends in like another party.
No.
No.
Depends on the vibe.
All right. Okay. Well, anyway, that's all the questions we have today, and I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing, and I want to thank everyone at home. So please join us. I hope in the next episode we're going to hear the guys' take on everything we talked about. And you could follow us on YouTube and on Facebook, and be sure to give us a thumbs up and a like because it helps a lot. Ask us any question you have. Help us build the next episode with your questions and things that interest you. And if you have something to say about where you grew up, then also we want to hear it. If you're looking for this podcast in any one of the podcast apps and you can't find us, you're supposed to find us. But if you can't, then please let us know because we'll connect it. And last thing is, if you're currently in Israel, or even if you have a connection flight through Israel with a long layover and you want to be a guest on the show, send us an email to crossingculturespodcast@gmail.com, and I'll see you on the next show. Thank you very much.